your business feels harder than it should, there's a chance that you're not doing too little, you're doing too many different things. Hey friends, I'm Cynthia from Doodle and Design Studio, where I help women learn digital art and turn that art into income. And today, what I want to talk to you about is something that affects speed, momentum, and confidence in business, but almost no one talks about it directly. A lot of people assume that if things seem slow in their business, they're doing something wrong. They think I need a better idea, a better strategy, or a totally different direction. But what I've seen over and over in my business and in others is the problem usually isn't effort or creativity. It's that we keep trying to learn something new instead of repeating something over and over until we actually get proficient at it. Story time. I had what I thought was a really awesome idea. Create one thing, one piece of art, and use it over and over on multiple products. On paper, it sounded efficient. And to be clear, I was being productive. Things were getting done, but they were getting done slowly, like the pace of a snail, even though I was working all the time. Because every time I moved to a new product, I had to learn an entire new process, new rules, new tools, new decisions. So, yes, progress was happening, but it was definitely the scenic route. And if there's a hardest way to do something, I promise you I'll find it before I figure out the shortcuts. Good news is I figured out this problem and now I can show you how to not do what I did. So here's what this means for you. Every time you switch what you're doing in your business, your brain has to reset back to zero, start from scratch. You're not able to execute, you're just translating. And learning mode is expensive and exhausting on your brain. It takes more time, more energy, and more focus. Things start to feel heavy and you start to get burnt out. If you're constantly switching products, offers, content formats, or systems, you never get the benefit of getting familiar with your process. Nothing feels easy, nothing feels automatic. And confidence and sanity, they're up here, staying just out of reach. This isn't a motivation problem, because I'm sure you're putting in all the work just like I was. This is a process problem. Everything changed and made so much more sense when I started repeating the same thing over and over. When I committed to doing the process until I knew it forward and backwards before moving on to something new. Things started getting easier. The work didn't disappear. My processes just got better. I was able to remember exactly what to do. Same steps, same tools, same flow. That repetition removes decisions. And then that's where your speed comes in. You start getting fast and kicking things out, and you feel a lot better. So, this is why repetition works. Repetition lowers your mental load. It turns your steps into muscle memory. It allows your brain to relax. Instead of your brain over here panicking and wondering what to do next, your nervous system can be like, oh, I know this. It's familiar. And that's when momentum kicks in. I'm not sure if you've heard of the snowball effect. It's usually in budgeting, but things start to speed up. You start making progress, and then it's awesome. Most people skip repetition for a very simple reason. It never even occurs to them. What? That's right. I mean, we're taught to learn new things, do all the things. As business owners, our to do list is always full, so there's always something new we're learning. Sometimes it doesn't occur to us to do the same thing for a while on purpose over and over when it comes to specific tasks. Even though now it seems so obvious, but it just didn't in the moment. So here's what I want you to try. Pick one thing you create in your business, one product, one offer, one format, not forever, just for the next 10 repetitions. Lock in that process. Same steps, same tools, same definition of done. Each time you repeat it, time yourself. Note what slows you down. Note what gets easier. By repetition 5 or 6, patterns start to emerge. And this is where the gold is. This is where you find your data. And you use that data to become more efficient and more productive in your processes. If creating in your business feels harder than it should, slow down. Evaluate the situation you've probably put yourself in. You're probably asking your brain to start from scratch, from zero, way too often. Repetition isn't about doing less work, it's about doing familiar work long enough that it stops draining you and you start enjoying yourself. And that's when confidence comes in, that's when speed comes in, and that's when your work starts to feel lighter. So let's talk about something that often trips people up when they talk about repetition. Repetition can feel uncomfortable, boring. I just did that yesterday. I don't want to have the same thing for lunch I had the day before. There's nothing shiny and new. When you're learning something new, it's very stimulating. There's new tools, new ideas, new possibilities. When you're repeating the same thing, all that noise disappears. You start noticing where your processes are clunky, where you hesitate, where you overcomplicate and overthink things. And that can feel frustrating too. But you know what? Frustration is information. It's showing you exactly where you can improve. Now, let's talk a little bit about busy versus effective. This is where a lot of people, myself included, get hung up. They're busy, they're working, they're in their business, all of the hours, they've done their time audit, they don't even have time to scroll on Facebook, and they're clocking all the hours on their business, but they're not being effective with their time. They're not moving the needle forward because their needle is busy bouncing all around, learning all this new information. Your day might be filled with starting new things, researching new ideas, figuring things out again and again. Because I'm not sure about you, but even if it's something that I've only done once or twice, and then I don't do it again for another month or two, I'm still going to have to teach myself all over again. Even if I have a process written down, I'm still going to be confused, and it's going to take extra time and extra mental load because you're not asking, what am I doing today? You're asking yourself, how can I do this better this time? How was this most effective the last time I created it? And it's a very different question with a very different result. Once again, you're not starting from scratch. Let's talk a little bit about what repetition isn't, because I don't want you to be worried that you'll never be able to do anything else. And I don't want you to think everything is so boring. You're not going to do the same thing forever. You're not going to box yourself in, and you're not going to be stuck. It's temporary, it's your training phase. You repeat something long enough to understand it and approve upon it, then you move on with skill. Think of it like learning to drive or starting a new career. At first, everything takes effort and you have no idea what you're doing. You're thinking about every little moment, every little process. But eventually, it becomes automatic. You go about your daily routine without having to tax your brain. And that's what repetition does for your business process. Now, what should you be repeating? You don't need the perfect choice. You just need a reasonable one, something you're still learning how to do, something that you already have access to, and you don't need to learn 5 new tools for, and that you can finish in a short window of time. You don't have to pick the best thing. You just need to stop switching things. And once you perfect the task you picked, you can move on to the next one. So I recommend picking a task you already have to do, but it's maybe a new task that you've only done once or twice and aren't super familiar with it, and knock out the next 10 reps. And now let's talk a little bit about what expectations should look like and a successful process should look like. You're not necessarily going to love it every time. You're going to get bored and wish you didn't have to do it sometimes. But it should look more like, hey, this was a little easier than last time. I didn't get stuck on this as long. I knew what to do next. I think this works better than the thing I did last time. So I think I will improve it. Those are wins. That's awesome. You're having little breakthroughs and fewer stalls. So if you feel like you're working hard, your family feels like they never see you, and you're not seeing any payoff yet, I urge you to slow down with the task switching and get proficient at one thing, one product, one email, blog posting. You pick, it's your business. You know what you need to do. And repeat your process. Learn it. Get it up there. Get that muscle memory going. You will thank yourself. So, what does done really mean? When we're learning something, we have a tendency to overthink, over tweak, and nitpick it like crazy. When you're learning something, the definition of done is a little fuzzy, a little unclear. You can't just look at it and be, it's done, and walk away. And that just makes us slower. So through repetition, we start to define what finished enough is, what matters, and what doesn't. The easiest way to know if you are done with something is ask yourself, what must this do to be complete? Is it answering a question, fulfilling a need, encouraging someone to buy? What must it do? And is it doing that? If you can answer yes, then you're done. Move on. Walk away. So if creating in your business feels harder than it should, you're probably asking way too much of your brain and starting it and wanting it to start from zero way too much of the time. Repetition isn't about doing less work or putting in less time. It's more about doing the same kind of work long enough for you to learn the process and make it easier. So, if creating in your business feels too hard, slow down the task switching. Once you define what done looks like and start repeating your task, things start to feel lighter. You build confidence, speed, and momentum. And if you create digital products and want help choosing one thing to focus on, I created a free quiz for you. You can pop in your results to the GPT prompt that goes with it to find colors and themes to get your one product in creation phase fast. And once you're done with that product, go on back and ask for a new theme, not a new product, just a new theme, and repeat it 10 times till you're a pro. Remember, you don't need new ideas. It's okay to have them. Just write them down. Save them for later. You need less task switching and product switching and more repetition and fewer resets. And that's it for today. And I hope you enjoyed.